Hey, thanks for joining us on our exploration into the New Testament. We are in Matthew, and if you're new to this channel, we have normally about 4 questions and diving deep into these per video, and it's pretty fascinating stuff. Like one thing that is striking that will just jump right in is that we're in Matthew chapter 2, there's no Nazareth. There's no amount of magi. You know, when you look at when you drive around on Christmas and you see all the narrative scenes of Jesus in the manger and the 3 wise men, well, in Matthew, it never even talks about having 3 wise men. It just says the magi. There's never a label. It could have been 10. It could have been 50. It could have been 1. We just don't know. So far it's interesting to see that what we think might be true is not even mentioned, at least so far. And so getting right into it, can anyone tell me why that is? Like why we were told that there are 3 magi when it doesn't say 3 magi? It may in the other 3 gospels or in any of the many gospels that are not included in the Bible, because the Bible, the New Testament, was never designed to be a complete collection of works or one book. It was never meant to be that. That was a whole construct whenever formal Christianity took place by the Council of Nicaea, where they came together and stuck all these books and excluded a lot of the ones that didn't match their narrative. So that's a fascinating thing to know and to explore on your own. But in Matthew chapter 2, verse 12, the Magi, who are still not numbered, they have a dream. And it says, do not go back to King Herod, because in the previous video, King Herod asked them to go find this baby Jesus and see if he's a prophet or not. I mean, how do you determine if a baby is a prophet or not is beyond me, but that's what he said do. They decided not to because they had a dream, and they went to their own region. But what is their region? It doesn't say. Like, where are these people from, and why would Herod trust them in the first place? Doesn't say at all. And then we go on to the next question. So far, these dreams and visions are pretty important just right out of the gate in chapter 2 in Matthew, the first book of the New Testament. You know, Mary has a dream and a vision that she gets pregnant and, still a virgin. Joseph has a dream and a messenger comes to him to trust the virgin birth. So that's a pretty important message, right? And this gets really, really important. And then Joseph has another dream that says to take Emmanuel, or Jesus, to Egypt, because Herod is going to come for him. Herod's sending people to kill this boy. And so Joseph does all those things too. He trusts Mary because of the messenger. He gets a message, he better go, skedaddle on out of town. So he does that. And so that makes me think that each of our dreams, your dreams, my dreams, they might have some significance in our own lives. So it might be a good idea. I'm just suggesting I do this, and I think it is very interesting, is to keep a dream journal for the times that you can remember your dreams when you wake up, just to jot them down. It's a pretty interesting practice before you forget them, just to write down the few lines of your dreams. It's a pretty fun practice. But getting right back into Matthew chapter 2, verse 15, there's right before this verse, Joseph has taken Mary and Jesus to Egypt, and they stay there until the death of Herod. But this seems obvious that this is some sort of literary trick to connect Jesus to the Old Testament. And why that's important, that's a good question. Some of you scholars might want to jump in and tell me, priests, pastors, whatever. I'd appreciate your input, because they are saying in this Matthew chapter 2 verse 15 that out of Egypt I did call my son. Well, that is completely taken out of context. Like, this is for Moses. Like, this has nothing to do with Jesus. There's no prophecy being made, nothing. This is like a preacher or pastor cherry picking Bible verses, but I mean, they're doing it right here in Matthew. And That's a pretty big and bold step for anyone reading the book of Matthew to go, wow, that is way out of context. And first of all, Jesus was not out of Egypt. I'm not calling my son out of Egypt or calling anyone out of Egypt. Jesus is not even in Nazareth. Many people refer to him as Jesus of Nazareth. Now, Jesus was of Bethlehem. It says he was born in Bethlehem. So if you live in, and you were born in Dallas, and then you moved to New York for a little bit, then you moved to LA for a little while, then you moved to Miami, when people ask you where you're from, you're going to say, or where you were born in Bethlehem. It seems a bit of a stretch to, not a bit, seems like an outright literary ploy to connect Jesus to the Old Testament in that way. So with that, I would appreciate your comments. And if you stayed with me this long, we get together every Sunday at 1:15, and we just have a fantastic sanctuary. We believe that we should utilize our critical thinking, that the universe, the infinite intelligence, what God gave us, to explore things that we've been taught, to explore things that we don't fully understand, so that we may discuss and bubble up the truth from a myriad of sources and a myriad of religions, so that we can better know ourselves, better know others, practice the art of listening, and ultimately communicate and meditate with whatever word you like to call it. Whether you like to call it Jehovah, Yeshua, Jesus, even though there were no J's 500 years ago, so Jesus is in no way can be his name. So, but does that even matter? I mean, when you're communicating to God, if you don't pronounce the name right, does God care? That's another interesting question. But we just like to get together and support each other and do those things. And if you would like totally unrelated videos concerning a lot of topics on our critical thinking and things that we may wish to consider, join us at the Mystics of Texas. So with that, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.